So what does the potential of tariffs on aluminum and steel mean for you? Joining us to talk about it is Mark Hamrick, a senior economic analyst with Bankrate. Mark, thanks for being here. We're going to start with if and when these go into effect, do you expect us to pay more for things like cars or certain electronics?
Good to be with you, Lisa. Yes, I think that is one potential that could be inevitable from all that. In the reporter package there were some industries that were mentioned. We're thinking about sectors such as industrial machinery, car parts, hand tools. And the U.S. currently only makes about 5% of the world's steel, for example. That's why we import so much of it. We don't have the capacity to ramp up in a massive way, to say the way we were around the time of World War II. So then the question is, how much marginally more steel can we produce? How much more aluminum can we produce? One of the big problems right now, it's a little more nuanced, is that China is essentially flooding the world with steel because its economy is on its back. And so the price of steel has declined, and that's yet another one of the many dynamics here. Tariffs are a tax paid by the company which imports the goods, and ultimately the company has to decide how much of that tax it passes along to its customers or consumers, and typically we would expect it to have an inflationary impact.
Mark, do you think this move will make it more likely that other countries will retaliate, possibly leading to a trade war?
I don't think there's much question about that. I think there have been all kinds of sort of different narratives coming out of people who are attached to the administration about how tariffs can or might be used. For example, some cabinet level officials have said they'd be very targeted. And of course, as the package mentioned, even in the case of Canada and Mexico, it was kind of a Texas two-step in the sense that we thought they were going to be applied and now they aren't for 30 days. And how much seriousness should we attach to all that? I mean, I think the president generally does follow through on what he threatens, but does that mean it's going to be in place forever? The other impact that can occur is that when the tariffs are broadly applied, not so much in the case of something that's more narrow with steel, is it can dampen economic output or growth in our country because we can't afford to consume the level of things and even produce perhaps the level of things that we had in the past. So these are things to watch. These are things that we watch, and there is a high degree of risk associated with them. Of course, the outcome that is hoped for is that domestic industry can be built up. The question is ultimately how competitive can U.S. manufacturers be when the cost of labor and materials is so much lower elsewhere around the world, China being a good case in point.
Mark, finally here, what can Texans do right now, if anything, if they invest or are concerned about these tariffs?
I don't feel like this is very investable right now in the sense that we don't know exactly how this is going to work out. But what I can tell you broadly is that we're still in a high inflation environment. Everybody knows prices remain elevated, and some prices could go up even further with the risk of tariffs. So one antidote for all that is to bolster emergency savings. Only 41% of Americans can pay an emergency expense of $1,000 or more from savings. Don't want to put things on a credit card and allow that debt to accrue when credit card interest rates are at 20% plus. We need to pay ourselves first, and that means make sure our emergency savings is where it needs to be.
We always appreciate the tips and your expertise. Mark Hamrick with Bankrate, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Yeah.